what yoga is, and then we'll discuss actually how we can actually use yoga to our advantage in our daily life. Does that sound good? And actually, another thing is I'd like to get a new definition of yoga as well. I'd like everyone to leave with, how about this? When a lot of times I'm going to ask this question, what do you think yoga means? I hear at least 50% or more of people go, to me yoga is, right? Which is valid, but it's less valid than yoga is. Does that make sense? Like yoga is a thing, actually. It's got its own definition. And so it's good to know what that thing actually is, and then to say what that thing is to us. Does that make sense? Cool, so we'll do that. But let's start, I think, with a short meditation, a prayerful meditation. I'm in a mood of gratitude today. So I'm going to just put on some music. And we'll just kind of drop in just to change the vibration. And to call in the higher powers. Breathe out. Good. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Good. When you're ready, open your eyes. That was a short one, but there's a lot of people here. I want to have everyone introduce themselves, and we have to end on time. So we'll just go around. We'll say our name, where we're from, the definition of yoga as you know it, and how you use yoga to benefit you in daily life. Cool. And we'll start here.
Might be too close.
That's good.
My name is Sarah. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, and my definition of yoga is...
No, the definition.
The definition of yoga, is... I just did exactly. What I've learned through Kian.
Oh, wait. No.
What?
You don't say the definition.
Okay, you don't want me to? Because I'm like...
No, you might just blow the game.
So should I say how yoga...
How are you using it in daily life?
I use yoga in daily life to calm my mind and to remind myself that I am not my mind and not my emotions, and whatever techniques I can use to apply that, so meditation, prayer, study. I think that that is how I mainly use yoga, and is the most profound wisdom that I always have to keep coming back to.
Thank you. That's something really good that Sada said. It's something we have to return to, like the truth. Because we get carried away, right? It's like returning to yourself as well. Being centered, they call it being grounded. It's something to remember that it's a constant return. And actually, the more you return and the longer you stay, the more you take it with you when you go out. Does that make sense? So oftentimes I'm a channel, and so I channel divine beings. And a message that they have constantly is come to us, spend time with us, give us your time. And actually, I channel Goddess Saraswati. She's one of my principal guides. She's the Hindu goddess of wisdom and speech and music and poetry. And she said to me once, she goes, don't waste time in seeing the blessing. Meaning, if we go through a hard time, like maybe after it's all over, sometimes we'll be like, oh, well, I can see the blessing now, right? She said, see the blessing now. And the way you can get to the blessing quicker is to return to the truth of things as it's happening, as it's going down. And I think that's probably what Sadh's talking about, is using yoga to return to the truth of things quicker rather than later. Is that accurate? Am I paraphrasing?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sir.
Hello, my name is Arvin. I'm originally from Vienna, Austria. Yoga is connection. Like becoming one with whatever is at hand or whatever is perceived. And in my daily life, I use yoga to connect to myself and to use this feeling of connection to take it outside and connect with everything that is here. It's a knowing inside, and then I heard about it, and it felt like the most real word I could use to describe that feeling would be connection.
Where did you hear about it?
He's a yoga teacher, but it was just like I didn't even know he was a yoga teacher. Conversation.
Okay. So you got your that working definition from combination of what somebody else told you and what you felt inside.
Yes, that's it.
Kim, is that a similar source?
Yeah, very much so. Hi, my name is Leia. I'm German, based in Portugal since 3 years. And I don't really even remember when yoga came to my life. A couple of years ago, I'm sure. Today, yoga for me is dedication. And to be dedicated to the moment, to the present moment of now. And I use yoga in combination with other practices like Qigong and Tai Chi. In the class that I also teach myself Qi Flow, which is a combination of all of that, to basically become aware of my own energy flow and to activate it, to awaken it every day or even evening or every moment that I feel like I need it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Pan from Albion. People might know it as England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. Yoga is living.
Speak a little bit louder.
Yoga is living, and I use it every moment to find the present in the present.
How did you get your, say your name again? Pen. How did you get your definition of yoga?
I'm done.
Okay, that's honest. Thank you. Thank you. I asked Pan how he got his definition of yoga, and he said that he didn't know.
My name is Rachel. I'm from New York City. I think the definition of yoga is the tools and methods by which you use to connect to a higher source, the divine, God, whatever you believe it to be. And even though I kind of know that's the definition, practically the way I use it in my life and what I probably define it as in my life as exercise, which is unfortunate because I know it's more than that, but that's why I'm here. So, yeah, being honest, how I've used in the past is as exercise in a very Western sense. So I'm just here to learn more about the other side.
Thank you. Say your name again?
Rachel.
Rachel, how did you get your definition of yoga?
The proper definition from like online research, from the way I use it in my life, just through practicing in the United States.
Okay, but that means you researched online.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise a golden flag for that. How many people have actually researched it themselves? Okay. Keep your hands up if you research yourself. How many people researched it and got the same definition that Rachel got?
It's a little bit difficult to understand.
Oh, okay. So, do you want to say your definition again?
I guess let's see, remember what I said. The methods or what tools you use to connect yourself to a higher being, whatever you believe that to be, oneness, connection, spirituality. And I think the three main ways are asanas, meditation, and breathing, which I think is called pranayama.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'm Mara. I'm from Germany. And I kind of struggle to pick what I think yoga is, but or what yoga is. But I think what's really important is like what you feel about when you hear it, and if you feel this, yes, that's it. The journey of the self, through the self, and to the self, and that's it, and that's happening every day to me, each moment. And this is like combining everything, like it's the connection that I feel with everything that is, the connection to the moment, the connection to the divine. It's all within me, I'm within everything. And realizing this over and over again and learning it, relearning it, I think that's, yeah. And this is, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And this is what I'm practicing every day, I'm trying every day with different methods, yeah. The ones that suit me, that work for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Where did you get it? That sounds great.
I actually think I found it on Instagram. Yeah.
Found it on Instagram. You know what? I'm not a fan of Instagram in general. But, say that again?
I think it's from one teacher, but I don't know who, one of the old teacher of yoga. I saw it.
Nice, but you know the devil is in the details. Like a lot of this is going to hinge on what the self is, right? And what the self is not a simple thing. So I would agree, but the devil's in the details. That's why I thought we'd write that up. Let's clarify that. Let's get clear about what that means. But I agree with that definition. I was going to say I'm not a big fan of Instagram in general. It's I think. For the most part, it's hard for me because it is a way for people to accentuate their egos. But you can use it in a positive way, right? Just like anything can be used in a positive way. And so if you're tapping into positive sources, I think it's good. Somebody sent me something positive that they saw on Instagram. And in fact, a few positive things. I remember my girlfriend sent me a meme, and it was of somebody snorting up likes. And he was like, I just can't stop. Right? And so they're making fun of, social media culture and the mentality that it's doing. And so if you're getting this type of enlightened thing, I think it's good. But I think in terms of talking about the self, I think Instagram really, the tendency I think largely is to promote a look at me mentality, which is largely going to be an ego-based mentality. And then also, just a very fictional representation of people's lives. And one of the things that studies have shown in social media can cause depression because people compare their lives to what they see on other people's social media posts, and they become depressed about their own life. And I counsel people. I do private sessions, and I'm like, don't you know it's all fake? Right? You know what I mean? I've been with people who are like, oh, take this picture. You know what I mean? For the gram. Do it for the gram, right? And I'm like, I'm there. It wasn't that great, right? You know what I mean? I was present with you. But the picture's awesome, right? But also, when you're literally, like Pan was talking about being present. Like if you're thinking about projecting an image while you're doing something, how authentically are you even doing that thing? And how authentic is the image? So social media isn't our topic today. But it should be a topic for later, huh? FYI, I go against mainstream thought regularly, so I hope I don't offend anyone. But it's just some things to think about, right? If you or anyone else has a mentality or a desire, look at me, and then to project an image of you, yourself, that's not wholly accurate, is that coming from the pure part of your soul, or is that coming from your ego? And we talk a lot about yoga is transcending the ego, going beyond ego. And nowadays, we're living in what's called the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, in which everything's become reversed. Everything's been flipped on its head. So now people are using what they're calling yoga to accentuate the ego. Right? Accentuate. That means to focus on and to enlarge. So to make the ego bigger. Whereas actually yoga, right, that's a very opposite. In fact, there's a term for that, Sanskrit. When you put an A in front of a word, it's a negation, and it's the opposite. So, a-yoga is false yoga. There's actually a prayer, and it's part of a prayer that I say frequently. It's part of a longer prayer. But it says, Datastu a-yoga atta yoga nataha. That's in Sanskrit. And Dattatreya was a mystical guru. Some say didn't really exist, or maybe he did, but or whatever. The point is, he's the mystical founder of the Hatha Yoga system, as it came down historically. So yoga has a history. And he's the mystical founder of it. And there's one prayer that says, O Lord Dattatreya, O Master of Yoga, please protect me from the path of false yoga. So that's what we're working on in this class. Hard for the ego, good for the soul. All right, thank you. Let's go in the back.
I'm not quite sure what the question is.
The question is, do you mind being filmed, by the way? You using it? Okay, thank you. The question is, your name, where you're from, what's the definition of yoga, and how you're using yoga in your daily life.
So hi everyone, I'm Zoe, I'm from Germany. Yoga to me is a way of life, a way of being, and I use it for purification. It's a short version.
Ooh, what are you trying to purify, Zoe?
Myself from my ego.
Admirable.
Trying, not achieving.
We're all trying. It's a daily practice.
Exactly.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Hello everybody, I'm Sylvia. I'm from London, England.
Sound like it.
Oh, not sure if that's a compliment. Okay, I'll be completely honest. I don't know the definition of yoga. And the reason I don't know the definition of yoga is because I have known yoga through the Western world and I don't know the true meaning of it. And no one has ever told me authentically what the true meaning of it is. So I'll be honest in that. However, I can say what yoga means to me, and that for me has a variety of ways and tools and practices to help me manage my inner monkey or my inner chimp, calm my inner critic, self-love, and to remind myself that I am enough in a Western world where a lot of people will try and make you feel not enough, and to become one and to connect to a higher power within myself.
Wow, I'm gonna double back to you, Sylvia. Sylvia or Sylvia? Sylvia. First I want to say something. It's super advanced nowadays to begin with, I don't know. To know that you don't know nowadays is an advanced position to be in. So I want to thank you. Stephen Hawking, right, the scientist, he said, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. The difference between illusion and delusion. Illusion means you don't know, right? You're not in reality. Delusion means you think you know and you're not in reality, but you think you are. So most people are deluded, right? Most people are walking around in total delusion, especially in matters concerning their personal life and things they identify with, right? It's hard to sit in the space of I don't know if it's important to you, right? So what do most people do? They make something up or they accept some definitions that's given to them. So, but it takes a very advanced character to be like, I don't know. Let me find out, even if you've been hearing certain things. Most people will attach to something. So I super appreciate that position. And today's the day. I'm going to tell you what yoga is, and it's not my definition. And it's going to be authoritative because I'm going to go directly to the sources. Like the same people who invented yoga wrote down what yoga is, and we're going to read directly from those places. So we'll have a definition and it'll make sense. Having said that, I'm going to double back to what yoga meant for you. And I think, and we'll talk more about that. So thank you so much. We're going to London too. Maybe we'll see you there in the summer.
Hi everyone, my name is Danica and I'm coming from Serbia. So inspired by you and your honesty, there are two things coming up. One is something that I heard, read, I don't know the sources, and I would say the union of body, mind and soul, and then something that's coming from the inner is a path to the truth of every present moment, and how I use yoga in daily life is, let's say, in every possible second to be, and when I say be, I mean connected to the inner voice and intuition, and surrender to every second and just watch it unfolding. Thank you. I went there. To get it.
Thank you. How many people have heard that definition? Union of mind, body, and soul. Everyone. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Pete. I am Indonesian citizen, already 40 years here in Melbourne. Definition of yoga is a philosophy, religion of India, 5,000 years ago, written in the Vedas, about how the human soul can connect with the divine. And in my daily life, yoga is very important. Every day I try to do the asanas, pranayama, meditation. But there are 24 hours in a day, and it's only 1 hour a day. I am near the yoga practice because 23 hours I am fearful. My ego asks me to do this, to do that, and in the daily life is now it's important to connect with God, with the divine, but in reality, every second for me is I am connected with my body, and the body put me always to the ground, to the ego. So there is, for me, it's a struggle. Yoga is you need to isolate yourself, I think, from the world who is very materialistic thinking. And if you're not a Swami, you cannot really connect with God.
If you're not a Swami, what? You said if you're not a Swami, what did you say?
If you're not becomes a Swami, if you're not living in an ashram, yoga is impossible.
Is that, are you saying it's impossible? Do you mean that?
No, I'm not meaning it, but it's as a person, I am limited. You need a situation around you who is pushing you to the spirituality.
Okay, I'm going to agree that you need an environment which favors your goal. That's true. Paramahamsa Yogananda said that. This is something really good. I say this a lot. Environment trumps willpower. Meaning your environment will eventually overcome you. So I teach about this, and I say in terms of your consciousness and environment, if your environment has a particular type of consciousness and you want to develop a particular type of consciousness, in terms of that environment, if it's a different vibration or a different consciousness, you either have to leave the environment and seek an environment which matches the consciousness you want to develop. You have to change the environment to match the consciousness you want to develop, or you have to surrender to that environment and accept that the consciousness you wanted to develop is not going to be there, and then your consciousness becomes like your environment. So it's either leave, change, or surrender. The only fourth option is to find a niche. That's like a small little space where you can create a mini environment within a larger environment in which you can develop this type of consciousness, but that's a temporary solution. It's like building a house surrounded, you know what I mean, by some things you don't want. Eventually, the things that's outside are going to overwhelm you, even if you try to stay in the house. So a temporary solution is to create your own niche until you either surrender, change it, or leave it to find one. So I agree with you. Environment will eventually trump willpower. You need a positive environment. And for yoga, and we'll talk about why this is, Pete's correct, it's good to have at least some training and some time actually away from society. One obvious reason is because, especially Western societies are ayogic, right? Everyone remember what ayoga is? Yeah. Aren't they? They're ayogic. They're anti-spiritual. It's not even just that they're not spiritual, they're anti-spiritual. And so, especially if you're in the West, you need to get out, or at least get to a niche. And you're right, it's ashrams are the traditional training grounds for spiritual life. And so I think it's almost imperative that we do spend some of that time. Having said that, I've done that. I've done a lot of that. And you know what then, what my gurus would have me do? They call it coming down from the mountain. You don't know how powerful your yoga is until you come down from the mountain and go back to the city. Then you know if you can control your mind or not, right, in that new environment. So I think you need both. I think you need both. That's my humble opinion.
What is Swami?
Swami is a renunciant, a monk, and who's taken a vow of celibacy and dedicated themselves to spiritual practice. And usually it's considered an advanced practitioner, usually. A lot of Western gurus initiated very young swamis, but traditionally it'd be older people. But traditionally it was men, but now, especially in the West, women also have been able to take those types of vows. I've heard that swami actually etymologically means one who has their senses under control. I need to double check that though. I can't confirm that 100% right now.
Can I share something?
Sure.
What you said before about this balance to come from the mountain to the, what you said, the city, or?
Yeah, come down from the mountain and go back to the city.
Yeah, one of the phrases which for me is most powerful is like, if you think that you are enlightened, then go spend a week with your family. So that's the point. That's the real thing where you learn everything, and then you can feel, okay, how I'm touching to this, what's happening, so that's for me real life. That's
I heard that one too, and I totally agree.
Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle said that?
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle is the man. That's an enlightened individual.
Yes.
Thanks for that. Sir.
Abdel from California. Yoga is the reunion of the soul with God, and I use it every day to keep things in perspective.
Thank you.
What was the last perspective? What was the last?
You use yoga to keep things in life in perspective.
Nice.
Blown away, Adele.
Yeah, hi, I'm Anya. I'm originally from Poland. I came here from Taiwan, and I really enjoyed the meetings. Learned a lot from all of you and from all the teachers. It's not my definition, it's definition of the word and read that yoga is a unity with God.
The yoga what?
It's a unity with God. Unite.
Where did you hear that?
From you.
From me?
Yes, as Pete said, it was written down a long time ago. It's a philosophy. Patanjali organized it, and he made it available for people to use it as principles, right? The 8 limbs of yoga, yamas, niyamas, that we can, as I use that in my life as a guidance and as a tool that helps me to shape my perspective on life and on myself, and also how I build relationships with people and with myself. So that's what has been changing a lot since I started practicing yoga. Yes, also for the physical benefits that asana brings. Like the physical practice on the mat kind of reflects what's going on in my life and in my mind and in my heart. And the other way around too. What's happening in my life will reflect physical practice.
Thanks for coming back.
My name is Dalibor. I am originally from Croatia and came here from Switzerland. And I can only speak from my experience what yoga for me is. Yoga changed my life totally, and meditation, and brought me to self-love, to compassion, to inner freedom, and how to deal in my daily life. So it's like connection to the level which is already always okay, and the way to which make it possible to love myself. And and it changed everything totally. It's like this self-love, unconditional love, the connection to God. Like 2 years ago, it was really nice, the connection to this divine God or universe, which is make me to trust and to feel this love and unconditional love every day. Doesn't matter what happened. Of course, I don't accept everything, but it taught me to how to deal easier with all these challenges during the life, during daily life. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this, that I discovered this, because I discovered yoga in a very challenging time. And I'm so grateful for all the challenges which I had, because I realized there's no failure in life, there only can be success, because we need these challenges, otherwise we will never grow if we don't have these challenges. So that's from my experience.
Yoga is the definition you gave us a few months ago, that it's the soul, the connection between the soul and the higher soul. And I think it's starting to make sense for me this past month. And I'm trying to use it, and I want to use it to get more warm-hearted, like more joyful, more grateful, compassionate in my life, and to feel completed in my daily life, and to live it fully.
Hi, I'm Lancelot from Switzerland. I've also learned the definition of yoga through you. I want to try and express it in a different way. I would say yoga is returning to oneness. And it's on the journey of discovering yoga. So, it wasn't there a couple of months ago, but right now I'm really using yoga in my daily life to try, and the word try is really important here, to try and become a better person. And it touches in a lot of different areas, but I think for me that's the ultimate reason why I'm practicing yoga.
My name is Pavel. I'm from Belarus originally. Spent half my life in US, and heard the true definition from you a few weeks ago. I've been thinking about it, and it is growing on me. And to be honest, I think like last few years, or I don't know, 5 years, I've been going to yoga classes and hearing about the chakras and all the sort of complications that have to do with another religion, or not religion, the belief system. And I think before that I read about the Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and Taoism, and so to be honest, on yoga I kind of decided not to look into it because I'm sure it's another system with its own complications and ancient scriptures where people debate whose scripture is the oldest one and who said it right. But hearing what you said and the way you put it together, I think gave me a different different perspective, and I want to give it a try to look into it, and not as in religion, but more of way of life and the way of connecting with the divine. Sort of the same thing we kind of said a few weeks ago. I think I had thoughts on faith and how I don't have it, but you said I probably do.
I didn't say probably.
Alright, you said I do. Well, I still say probably, and but it's been a good experience. That's why I'm coming back to hear more and to listen to what the other guys said.
Hi, my name is Nikki. I'm from Australia, and I, like Sylvie, am not going to pretend that I know the meaning of yoga. I guess at the inception of my journey, at least in a more committed fashion than I have done previously in my life. You mentioned 3 words, environment trumps willpower. I guess at this point in my life, that's where I am. I left my life 7 months ago and have been travelling, and this is the end of that. I've done a complete circle, and I'm going to, the words that everyone has used, I guess, being last, many words have been repeated, but they resonate with me as well, and that is, I'm seeking a connection, I'm seeking peace, I'm seeking love, acceptance, and a content life moving forward. So this is why I'm here and what it means to me.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm from Australia. The definition of yoga, I think a lot of us, like I go to yoga studios in the Western world and I learn about asanas and meditation, but I don't learn about what yoga is there. I don't learn about the philosophy and a lot of things that I would really like to learn about, but that isn't really offered there, which is why I'm here, because I want to learn about that, but I don't find it to be as readily available as asanas and meditation. I use yoga to find try and find a stillness and a calmness inside myself so that I can bring that with me out into the world during my day, and I find that yoga gives me that.
What's your name again?
Liz.
Liz. Did you hear what she said? She said she goes to yoga studios and she doesn't learn what yoga is. That's actually what's going on. Raise your hand again. How many people have heard that yoga is the union of mind, body, and spirit? Keep your hand up if you agree with that.
What I've heard is...
If we agree.
Yeah, if you agree with it. Okay. Okay, all right, keep your hand up if you agree with it. So we've all heard that yoga is the union of mind, body, and spirit. Everybody's heard that. Keep your hands up, raise your hands. Ray, keep your hand up if you agree with that definition. Okay. Now, of the people still raising their hand, saying that you agree with that definition, did you personally research it? Keep your hand up if you personally researched it. You personally researched it, you personally researched it, Pete personally researched it. Okay, so you said you didn't research it earlier.
Well, I didn't.
Alright, we're going to stick with the people who are a little bit more sure. Alright, so there were 3 people who said that they researched that definition and found it out to be true. Kim, what was your research that confirmed that yoga means union of mind, body, and spirit?
I still don't have confirmation of that because I still don't know. I've read all the things. How I've internalized that definition.
Okay, so my question was, everyone has heard it. I said who still believes it, and then I said amongst those who still believed it, who personally researched it. Are you going to keep your hand up? People are afraid now.
It's just a little bit different. I don't know, this for us is like a union body, mind, soul. Of course, there is something true, but not only this. So it's like there is much more.
Okay, what research confirmed that it means union of mind, body, and soul?
it's like, yeah, to accept, like, I mean, when we realize that we are not our body and our thoughts and the feelings, that's for me the union, because it's just a soul. This body, it's only like, how you say, the physical kind of my package of my soul. So when I'm realizing that I'm not all this kind of body and mind and thoughts and feelings, so that's it's for me revelation.
Right. So does that mean? So if you realize that you're not your body, how does that connote with yoga or reconcile with yoga being union with your body?
Well, we have bodies. Of course, we need them, yeah.
Right. But my question is, if it means union with your body, how does that match with realizing that you're not the body?
And it's in the practice, I think, more. When I'm doing asanas, then I can totally connect to my body, I can feel my breath, and I can make my mind, it's really exactly here where I am and not outside somewhere. So to keep this focus of my mind with my body and my breath. So that's this union of everything. When I'm doing yoga, I'm not somewhere else, I'm really here and now. The whole class I'm in now, feeling my body and
Okay, thank you. I'll tell you something Sharon Gannon said. She founded Jiva Mukti Yogi. She said, you cannot do yoga. What you can do is yogic exercises, which reveal to you, and I'm going to paraphrase the rest of it. The first part was good, that which reveal to you where you are out of touch with your natural state. So I like that, because, in fact, we'll get the definition, which all the return people said. So it'll, because also the whole, I'm going to do yoga. Usually people get that phrase in relation to asanas, right? That's really what they're thinking about. So I'd like to even kind of shift that around. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to share. I wanted to share something that kind of reminded me of the union that we were just mentioning, and that would be, we just discussed, like, for example, let's use morning and waking up and taking a couple of minutes to just be in the silence, and then following the intuition. Like let's say everyday practice, if I do any practice, will be very spontaneous, and that I see as a union, because I'm kind of listening. Maybe my mind would like to push more, but then it's kind of that inner listening. Or if I feel like if yoga practice this morning would be just a movement, and then tomorrow I will feel the call to jump into the pool, and then suddenly start doing some exercising. So right now I can say that I experience it as a union when it's not just my mind wanting to do a push-up, but it's also how I feel while I do it, and if it actually hurts body, and then I see it as a union when I'm kind of listening the inner, going with the flow.
Okay. So as we're going to clarify this. This is actually a really good point. And I say this, the devil is in the details. Right? So we're actually going to get very detailed and specific. Just like we're going to do with this. But what I want to say is, how about this? Amongst this, the people who've come back, right? I've given a different definition of yoga. How many of you have personally researched what I said and confirmed it? Anybody?
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how did you research it? What's your name again? Google.
Google, I Google it.
Oh. I said, what was your name again? I forgot. Anya, yes, right. Okay, so then you Googled. Did anybody else get that? I said, what was your name again?
Maybe her name is Google.
Okay, all right. I wasn't alone. Okay, all right. I knew you said Google. That's sweet. Okay.
Sometimes I say, I'm Anya. Oh, nice to meet you, I'm Anya. So that will probably
Okay.
be the same thing.
Okay, so you Googled it. And then as you read whatever you read, did it confirm that what I said was true?
Yes. Also, it just gives the definition of word yoga, right? Is to unite.
Yeah.
So that's from Sanskrit, right? Unite. And then the unity with God, the divine. So
Okay.
that's what came up. Yeah.
Perfect. Here's, you see why I'm pushing you guys on this, right? I'm going to read something that the Buddha said. Or he's alleged to have said. He said, "Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found within your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in tradition because they have been handed down for many generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it." So what he's saying is, just because you read it, don't necessarily believe it. Just because somebody said it, don't necessarily believe it. But he says, but then he says, after observation and analysis, that's research. And that's study, right? And in fact, that's practice. So you have to do all of that. So you have to hear what other people say. You have to research if what they're saying is accurate. And you have to practice to see if it suits in with your personal experience. And if it makes sense, then you accept it. So this definition, I'm going to categorically say, yoga does not mean union of mind, body, and spirit. And I'm going to read to you from the scriptures, with yoga scriptures, which defines what yoga is. And that's what I did before, right? I always do that. However, what people are experiencing is that during the practice of yoga, you can feel a unity with mind and body, because right, you're bringing them under control, in fact, and so that you unite with them, and you know what the point about this is, the union is temporary, and it has to be also very specific, meaning it's at your will. Meaning you're not identifying with the mind and body, because guess what? Yoga really means, and I've said this a lot, and these wonderful people who came back said it, the scriptural definition of yoga is union of the individual soul with the Supreme through neutralizing the activities of the mind. Right? I can say bringing the mind to absolute stillness. So this is famous verse in the Raja Yoga Sutras. Yogas chitta ritinororaha. Right? That's his very famous verse. It means, he says, yoga is bringing to cessation the whirlpools of activity in the mind. And then we'll go further. In fact, I'll tell you this. If you read yoga scriptures, it's so obvious that it refers to the union of the soul with the divine that that's why they just stopped and called it union. In fact, it was so clear that what the union was, but they just called it union. They described how to achieve this union. And, and they said all of this union is achieved through bringing the mind to a point of absolute stillness, inactivity. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, once the mind is stilled, then the self within, and God, the divine, is your own self. The self within is already reached. So I'm going to read from scriptures to that effect. But from now on, first of all, two things. I want people to be clear about that. So union of mind and body and soul. I would say as a blanket statement is inaccurate. I would say, however, you do unite mind and body and soul along the path of yoga. But ultimately, for yoga, because it means union of the soul with soul, you're uniting spirit with spirit. You transcend all of the material, and your mind and your body are material things. They come and they go, and they change state. Spirit is eternal and unchanging. Your soul is covered by your body and mind. But your soul is unchanging in its nature, and the game is to awaken from the illusions placed on you by the mind and body. And not just that, the mind is called a subtle body. So bodies. Ego is a subtle body. So does everyone get that? So you see the subtleties. So as a blank statement, it is inaccurate to say that yoga is union of mind, body, and soul. Especially because if you think that's the definition, then you stop there and you don't transcend them. And, let's be clear about that. Yoga is about transcending and going beyond them. The only reason to unite with them is to bring them to an absolute point of absolutely under your control, so that you can negate their activity when you need to, and then you can activate them when you need to. Does everyone get that? So that a yogi can make her mind do what she wants it to do. And most times a yogi is going to say, "Be still."
Can you kind of go a little bit from the idea of stillness? Because one thing that I find kind of interesting is that your mind needs to be still to connect with the divine, is what you're saying. But a lot of times we use music, we use these meditation bowls, there are things that, or even like a guided meditation where you're actively imagining things. That to me is not stillness or emptiness. That's I think it's valid, but I don't understand the word still.
Right, okay, so that's perfect. Still means no activity. A riti is a whirlpool of activity. Right? And so yoga chitta riti nirodha. Nirodha means the elimination of. So he's saying yoga is when there's no stillness, so it's correct. Astanga yoga is the eightfold path. Step 5 is called pratyahara, withdrawal of the consciousness. Step 6 is called dharana, focusing of the conscious. Step 7 is called dhyana, which is meditation. Meditation is defined as an unbroken flow of consciousness in one direction. So that meditation means when you don't have a thought or feeling interrupting where you put your consciousness. And let's be clear about this. The soul is consciousness. The soul is consciousness. It's awareness. It's consciousness and energy. That's what the soul is. And so the mind is a thought and emotion producing machine which stores the activities of the soul along its journey, a record of them, and recycles the ego's feelings and opinions about them. Meaning that's your thought and feelings, typically. So when we talk about stillness, what we're saying is, this is the third verse. Patanjali says it. So first verse is, now yoga is explained. Second verse, yoga is bringing to cessation the whirlpools of activity in the mind. The third verse says, then the seer rests in her own true nature. Once the mind is stilled, you're resting in pure consciousness. So it's not that you don't have awareness, you just don't have rittis. You just don't have fluctuations of thoughts and feelings interrupting that awareness. That's a super high level. So how we get there is we practice the stages before it. We practice withdrawal and focus. And once we get those down, then we can enter into stillness. So when we talk about meditation, almost nobody ever meditates. That means you don't have a thought or feeling. What we're practicing is withdrawal and focus. And when you get good at that, then meditation occurs spontaneously. Does everyone grab that? Did that answer your question? Listen, we're going to put this up online and you can review it later. So we have a whole, we have a lot of classes up online, and eventually almost all of them will be up, so you guys can check in with it. Here's what I want to do. I have to go. I know. You know what? All right, let me tell you the future. What's happening is we're planning on, I'm going to do a tour of Europe and America. If you're around, sign up for the email list. And if you're in Europe and America, hopefully I can see you out there. Our plan is to probably get our own little ashram this year, because this is satsang, and I love Yoga Bar. It's been the best job I've ever had. But they have an agenda, and whereas we need a place where we can let satsang have a natural end. And Yoga Barn just has a schedule that I have to adhere to. So hang in there, and we're gonna have a place in which we can have satsang, and it's gonna end when it ends. But unfortunately, this satsang is coming to an end because Yoga Barn has a timetable. What I want to do though is read from scripture as I promised, so that you'll get this, so that you can have evidence, more evidence. Also, if you get our website, so I'm going to rush off. She can sign you up for the email list. She can also give you the website. We have these scriptures online as free PDF downloads. So when I say do research, read the scripture. How is this true right quick? Journey of the self, through the self, to the self. Journey of the self, that's a soul, I'm going to call it. Through the self. The ego is called the ahamkara, which means the body of the I am. It's called the false self. To the self, that's the supreme self. That's God. In Sanskrit, Sanskrit's very precise. We'll separate those. Journey of the self, individual self. The individual true self is called Atma or Jivatma. That's the individual soul. Through the self, through the ego, ahamkara, to the self, to the supreme self, which is Paramatma. Did everyone grab that?
Ahamkara ego.
Ahamkara is ego. How's that? Yeah? Okay, cool. Do with that too. I'm going to end, I'm sorry we don't have more time, but I'm going to end with just reading some scripture about the definition of yoga. And this is Krishna speaking. So Krishna in yoga system and yoga scripture is God. And he's speaking as God. And I'm going to read. So this is from Bhagavad Gita. And like I said, you can get this as a free PDF download on our website. I'll start with Bhagavad Gita chapter 6. I'll start with verse 4. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, she neither acts for the gratification of her senses, nor engages in activities in which she is attempting to claim the results of her own actions. One must deliver herself with the help of her mind and not degrade herself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and the enemy as well. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, the mind remains the greatest enemy. For one who has conquered the mind, the supreme self within is already reached, for she has attained peace. To such a person, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi when she is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization in practical life of that knowledge. Such a person is situated and transcendent and is self-controlled. She sees everything, whether it's pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. A person is still considered further advanced in yoga when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, pious and sinners, all with an equal mind. A yogi should always engage her body, mind, and consciousness in the relationship with the Supreme. She should live in a secluded place and should always strive carefully to control her mind. She should be free of desires and feelings of possessiveness. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a soft cloth. The sheet should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. Thus one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, controlled mind, devoid of fear, and completely free of sexual desire, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Thus practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the yogi, his mind controlled, attains to the kingdom of God through an end of material existence. There's no possibility of one becoming a yogi if one eats too much or eats too little, if he sleeps too much or he sleeps too little. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains through practicing the yoga system. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines her mental activities, becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, she is said to be well established in yoga. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, the yogi, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in her meditation on the transcendent self. In this stage of perfection, called samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by the practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In this state, one is situated in the supreme happiness. Established thus, one never again departs from the truth, and upon gaining the self, one thinks that there is nothing greater to gain. Being thus situated, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. Know that this union with the Supreme through control of the mind is called yoga. This union through yoga is the actual freedom from all sorrow. There we have it. God has spoken. Everyone, thank you so much. I'm sorry I have to run off. I have another appointment. Hopefully I'll see some of you again. And thank you for coming. Have a lovely time.